Welcome to episode 78 of Stageworthy. I'm your host, Phil Rickaby. Stageworthy features conversations in Canadian theatre with artists of all stripes, from actor to director to playwright and more. If you want to drop me a line, I'd love to hear from you. You can find Stageworthy on Facebook and Twitter at StageworthyPod, and you can find the website at stageworthypodcast.com. My guest this week is playwright Maureen Gualtieri. Maureen's newest play, Odd One Out, will premiere at the 2017 Toronto Fringe Festival.
The show is called Odd One Out,
Okay.
and I have been working on it for 4 years now.
Is that the writing of it?
The writing of it.
The writing of it?
Yeah. I sort of exited theater school and kind of took some time to be a regular human being again.
That's just like thing. How long ago did you... I mean, we're going to jump around. It's a conversation, not an interview.
Yeah.
How long did you leave theater school?
I graduated in 2012.
Okay.
And I was there for 3 years.
And what school?
National Theatre School.
National Theatre School, nice.
In Montreal.
Cool.
So I had like the usual thing of theatre school where they like break you down and make you again.
Yes.
Plus, being an Anglophone in French Canada, I was kind of bombarded on all sides with, this is so new, who am I now? You know? So I had to take some time to be like, I'm going to go to the grocery store and buy some olives like a normal person.
I kind of wonder about that whole theater school break you down and build you back up thing. I understand the concept of it, but in some ways I think it's bullshit, quite frankly.
Sure.
I think that there's some things they need to break you of, like your bad habits as an actor. But some of them approach it as I break you down. And then it's fine if they build you back up again. But some theater schools are not so great at that.
Well, with my experience, I went for the playwriting program.
Okay.
So there was more of what you described, where it was like, let's sort of keep you as who you are and have been in the world up until now, and then just like take apart what is not working. But even then, like if you have crutches, sort of like they're there for a reason.
Right.
And sometimes having them pulled away, even if you feel prepared for it, is like terrifying.
Yeah. Well, crutches are. I mean, it's like that thing if you like break your leg, and you're used to the crutches, and then one day somebody says, "Okay, walk without the crutches."
Yeah.
They're gone. It's a really apt metaphor,
Yeah.
because you put your foot down. You're like, I don't even know if I remember how to walk without these things.
But it's great, and it's progress, and you're like cognitively, yes, this is going to happen. But like your leg muscles have atrophied a little bit, or like you're a little unsure.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of my experience coming out. Very positive, but just that kind of focus and tunnel vision, having to be a regular person again was a bit of a project.
How long did that take? How long did it take for you to feel like a person again after graduating theater school?
Well, I think there was sort of a trend among the people who I still am sort of friends with and in circles with, who have graduated the same. It takes about 3 years, like the amount of time that you're in when you come out again. And I found in my experience as well, like there's still some vestiges where I'm still trying to reconcile my identity as an artist, which was so supported there, with hello, I have a regular job now, and I'm trying to like.
I don't think that's something that nobody ever talks about in theater school. Is the Joe job and the importance of the balance between the Joe job and the artistic life and things like that.
Totally,
it's hard to learn how to balance those, because you can go too far into the work life because there are people who demand things of you.
Yeah,
then you have to find a way to have a space of time that's yours that nothing else touches.
Yeah, we had a class in the business of playwriting, which was like how to apply for grants and how to be like copyright and sort of all that stuff, which was great. But that was sort of predicated on the idea that you would sort of be doing this full time.
Yeah.
But not having the skill to balance the two sort of states is one that I'm still like learning. I think it's a constant engagement sort of thing, trying to figure out where that falls.
Do you have a full-time job outside of writing? Or
I
do.
I just transitioned to a full-time job after having several years of like working 3 part-time jobs at once. Weird hours.
That must be so hard, like just to to because I know every part-time job I've ever had, they're all like, I am just as important as your other job, and you're like, but you all want me to do the same thing.
Yeah,
how do I balance this?
And it's the new economy, right? Like, this is what we have inherited. Like, everyone has a full-time job, but they're just making it up out of X number of part-time gigs. Yeah. So sort of exiting that world and going into like a steady paycheck. And I have dental.
Oh man, isn't that like suddenly like this life-changing thing?
It's crazy.
Like, benefits.
Yeah, I can like write off massages now.
What the hell?
Because I have to sit at a desk forever and just like type and mouse, and my right side is like.
I had ages of like before I learned how to use my mouse responsibly, where I would just like come when I'd finish a week and I'd be like, I can't move my wrist. So I learned a different way to do it.
Yeah.
You know? Have you been able to find, in terms of the navigating the full-time job and the artistic life, that you're able to carve out time that's yours, or is it hard to make that balance work?
It's a little bit difficult because the full-time day job that I have is in customer service, which is quite taxing, and the personality style that works for customer service and works for writing, like I can toggle between the two, but it takes a lot out of me. Yeah. So it's a different circumstance than I'm running all over Hill's Half Acre trying to make different part-time jobs. Like, I do have the time, but being able to switch into that has been difficult. And over the past couple months, especially working on this draft of the Fringe show, I've needed to bring a lot more energy to the writing that on some days I just couldn't.
Do you, I mean, in terms of the customer service, is it a call center, or is it something a little better than that?
It's mostly phone-based, but it's I sell tickets at a large arts organization.
That's cool.
So it's kind of a combination of sales and incoming calls, and I'm in a quasi-managerial position, so the people who get angry at the people who immediately answer the phones will sometimes get transferred to me, and so I'll have to put out a little bit of a fire.
That's a tough headspace to occupy and then leave. And I know I worked in a call center. I worked at Chapters Online when it was just Chapters, and then through the Indigo transition. Right. And that was like, to be artistic after a day of people yelling at you was like so hard.
It's, I mean, not just energy-wise, but being okay with like the human condition wise. Like, this is sort of difficult for me to kind of parse in a positive way, but it makes it difficult to like people sometimes. Yes. And if you don't like people, how can you understand them? How can you access their stories? How can you have an imagination surrounding people's lives? Yeah. So that is a harder balance that I've been trying to strike too.
I find with my full-time job, when I'm in the writing thing, if I don't have just like a little over an hour, like if I can't carve out like an hour or more to write, like I can't do like a half hour of writing, because it takes me like that half hour to shake off everything, to be able to just sort of like, oh, this is where I am. So it needs time to be able to get to that point.
That's so true. Like, I've tried to write on my lunch sometimes.
I can never write on my lunch. It's not enough, because you end up with like, okay, so now I've got my lunch, and now I'm eating my lunch, and now I have a half hour. That's just not enough time.
I hold my laptop all the way here, and now it's the pressure. It's difficult.
In terms of now, I mean, we've sort of talked around it. You mentioned it a couple of times. So the Fringe show. And then, sorry, the title again is...
Odd One Out.
Odd One Out,
yes.
Okay. So can you tell me what that's about?
Sure. Well, it comes from sort of two different streams that I kind of mashed up in my brain. It is based, plot-wise, on a book called Odd Girl Out, or not based, inspired, written by Anne Bannon, and she is known as the queen of lesbian pulp fiction. Okay. So she wrote a whole bunch of like super pulpy, like full of swooning and like really awesome tropes in the 50s. And one of these books, I think it was the earliest one that she actually wrote, when she herself was like 21 years old and a young mother trying to figure out her own sexuality and give a vocabulary to it, about two girls in a women's college in the eastern sort of seaboard area of the United States who fall in love with each other and have no real context for it. Like, it's like 1951 and there's no real word for what they're experiencing. Right. And then there's a whole bunch of like, swooning and love and things, and a man gets in between them. And I thought this was a really interesting sort of kind of world to work in. Like, I really like the sort of like middle of the 20th century sort of repression thing going on. And out of that as well, like my twin obsession with this this sort of era is stories of alien abduction and like UFOs. Okay. So I took this book and a sort of urban legend story about an actual girl, an actual woman at a women's college in like Vermont who disappeared in something called the Bennington Triangle. Okay. And her disappearance was entirely unsolved. So I took the characters from this book and kind of created new ones and sort of followed the story, where there are two women who fall in love with each other at this college, and then one of them completely disappears, possibly under paranormal circumstances. So the questions that are brought up with this are, what does it mean to lose someone in a mysterious way, and to not have answers about it, and to try to create your own answers and your own story to explain it when you don't have anything in the real world that can explain it.
So, and I'm going to, as a writer, sort of geek out with you for a little bit, because I love how when you're writing things and various obsessions come together to form a singular thing. Yeah. And so you're taking like one thing and mashing it into another thing. I think we do that all the time as writers. I'm curious, what was the start? Like, what started the play, and how did the alien abduction thing come into it? Like, did that come later? Did you know that was going to be part of it when you started writing?
I think the mystery of it, the alien abduction sort of part of it was there very early. Like, what I think, if I had to boil it down, my chief inspiration was the story of Paula Jean Weldon, who was this 18-year-old girl in 1946 who disappeared while hiking on a path in Vermont. And the Vermont State Police were actually funded by her father, who was this sort of wealthy industrialist, to find her. And they never did. And her disappearance was the first of, I think, 5 over 10 years where people in that national park just spontaneously dropped off the face of the planet. So I went online and I printed off her the poster that they had created in order for people to like know her handwriting and know her height, and she had a vaccination scar, and this is her hair color, and I put it in my workspace right up on my like poster board. And just, the mystery that is centered in that one person who's no longer there. And the idea of the Bennington Triangle as though, or a Bermuda Triangle, instead of ships that disappear, it's people. Right. And where do they go? Right. And it's very likely, like factually speaking, that she met a terrible end at the hands of another human being. Right. But there's always that maybe.
Well, if you never find a body, there's no answer to the question. Yeah.
And people in that area reported like strange lights and weird things going on for forever. And just, I think it's very theatrical, and it's very sort of mythical, that the possibility that there is an alternate explanation. Because the theater is not really a place for the factual. Right. It's a place where like you have that tiny little nugget of hope, and you're trying to hold on to it. Yeah. So maybe she did get abducted by aliens, and would that be fantastic given the alternatives?
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like that's where it started, and then this other book came into it, or did they like sort of gestate together?
I think it was sort of at the same time, but my interests are kind of scattered all over the place. I never know when they're going to collide. Yes, yeah. So I think I had seen like a YouTube interview with Anne Bannon, and I was like, this is an awesome lady. I want to read her stuff. Yeah. And then I did, and then I was like, whoa, connections. This girl was in college, these girls are in college. Space aliens.
Right, yeah. It's funny how these things come together. Yeah. Like, and you said that you were writing it for like 4 years?
Yeah, on and off. Yeah. Like, this has sort of been my main project, again, as I'm slogging through like 3 part-time jobs, etc. It's been a very slow gestation, but I feel like that has given it depth. I think. I hope.
Question that I have, and this is purely selfish, because I wrote a play for like 8 years that
No
I
way.
performed like last year, the Hamilton Fringe, and I really only finished it because I'd gotten into the Fringe. And
Right.
suddenly I had like this thing, now I have to finish it, because until then it was like I can continue to write and do this.
Was it actually 8 years?
Pretty much 8 years on and off.
Wow.
Like, much like you, like 8 years on and off. A lot of it was like tied up in different.
I feel so much
things
better
here.
now. That's awesome,
It was
though.
like 8 years of like coming back to it and putting it away and coming
Yeah.
back to it and letting it evolve and change. What was the state of this on the night of the Fringe lottery? Was it almost finished, or did the lottery give you a kick in the ass to finish it?
Well, I had entered the lottery. I'd been kind of been in a pact with an active friend of mine where we had both entered the lottery, and then whoever got in, we would work collectively on whoever's
Sure.
project. And then this year I didn't check in with her, and it was like 2 days beforehand, and I was like, I'm just going to enter it, because statistically there's absolutely no chance. And then got in. Which was great, but also terrifying. The kick in the pants thing is a great physical metaphor for that. It's sort of hilarious because the play at that point had, I think, 10 characters, 9 characters, played by 8 people. And then once the reality of it hit, and I started talking with this actor, and we were like, let's work on this together, let's find people, it became increasingly obvious that this wasn't feasible for a Fringe sort of situation. So in a dramaturgical way, they were like, can you cut the characters down to 3?
Right.
And just shunt all this other fantastic stuff into one of them and really boil down what the actual thing is about, because I had done a lot of sort of like world building with like, oh, this is what it's like in the 50s, and this woman is married and her husband says these things to her, and like misogyny, which is all well and good, but not about the central mystery, which is what this was really about. So the kick in the pants happened, and then it was like I had a couple months to, even though everything was there, I felt like I was writing a different play.
Right.
Just distilling and peeling away and strengthening, having dark nights of the soul. Why am I doing this to myself? And to some degree, like there's still a small piece that I need to sort of finish, like one scene and then a couple tweaks, but it seems to be there now.
I find that there's this, when you get into the Fringe, when they call your number and you're in, there's this elation, and then like a half hour later or so, there's this sinking feeling that you're like, now I have to do this thing.
I didn't even go to the draw. I got the email because I was like, I'm not going to get in. I'm not going to haul my way downtown and just sit there and be sad. And then I just got an email while at work.
I have gone for so many years. I've entered so many years, and I've gone, and I think I'm done.
Yeah.
Because I think I would much rather not be there for that disappointment.
I can't even imagine how stressful.
Yeah, it's just like as the numbers come up, you're just like, grasping onto something, and like, oh, that one's close to mine. Fuck, what does that mean? What does that mean? Oh, so many things, and you're in the room with all these people doing the same thing, and it's just like, they try to make it fun, but it's not fun.
It's not helpful.
It's too stressful.
It's great that they have that transparency, though.
Yes.
It's very helpful to have that openness. And
if you've never been there, the transparency goes like beyond just like having people there. Like if you go early, they give you a stack of numbers and say, please count.
Oh.
So, and you're going to sign this to say that you counted to make sure that all the numbers were there in this category. And so various people go in and they sign for it and they confirm that the numbers are there.
That's awesome.
And then when they draw the thing, they put them all in a bin, they cover it with a blanket, and the person puts their arm in and they don't even look. Because there's there is so many people who are like, oh, it's fixed. Same people get in every year. And so they've gone to so many lengths to try to make that as transparent as possible. But it's just so stressful. And because the odds are just so against you as the artist.
Yeah.
The people, somebody has to get in, but it's so hard to be there and just like watch those numbers go.
Yeah, no.
So, kick in the pants, you're in the Fringe.
Yes.
And so you were talking about the funneling a whole lot into the single character.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like, aside from that, like, can you, if you were to compare the first version with this version, are they completely different animals now?
That's sort of a tough one, because I feel like a lot of sort of preparatory work went into sort of the first iteration. I feel like on my gut level, once this is complete as an experience, and I have kind of like processed like what is actually important about this story, what is theatrically interesting to other people, I would like to go back to the previous draft and see if I can restore some of what I would, in theory, in the future know is story-wise is important in there. I feel like the previous sort of draft had a little bit more breathing room too. Like the 60-minute slot is one that I feel is not one that I can write to easily. I need a little bit more length, just a tiny bit more. They are quite different.
60 minutes is a really difficult one, because you kind of have to make, like, you need to fit everything in. It's kind of like this breakneck, like just racing from start to finish to get within an hour for some shows.
Yeah, which it can be great because it really just like distills everything down. But then also I think it's a format that is very much festival kind of like oriented, and having to wedge things in is something I want to avoid.
But then I've also seen a lot of shows that fit into the 90-minute slot that just don't need to be 90 minutes long.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like there's some in-between spot. I think 75 minutes is okay. I can see something stretching out that, but I've sat through a whole lot of 90-minute shows where I'm just like, you needed to cut a whole lot.
But if you have all that time, you should use it.
And well, I usually, like, I've been in the 90-minute slot, and we just go for like 75 minutes. You just need that extra.
Just a little bit more. Yeah. Just a little bit more. But I do think like the previous draft is something I would like to return to and see now that it's been tested, sort of.
Fringe is a great way to test stuff like that.
Yeah.
To, like, get it seen and get like immediate feedback. I kind of wish that the Toronto Fringe wasn't always looking for hits and was a little more forgiving about experimentation. It's
so high stakes, but also so low stakes at the same time, sort of weirdly.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pro experimentation. Yeah, and it gives a lot of lip service to that, but I don't know if it's the media. The way the media looks at it, because the media and everybody's always looking for the next Kim's Convenience, the next Drowsy Chaperone, the next My Mother's Lesbian Jewish Weekend Wedding. They're looking for the next big thing, and so it's hard to like experiment when there's all this pressure to be polished, which is a tough one.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting to like learn so much. I'm curious, as a playwright and choosing to write for theater. When did you know that theater was something you wanted to write for or to be involved in?
Well, I think the very earliest inkling was when I think I was like 5 or so. My parents took me to see a production of Cats, which I totally loved, and is apparently not. I haven't revisited because apparently it's not all that good, and people are kind of like Cats. But I had a blast as a 5-year-old. Yeah. But the coolest thing about it was that my dad was, I think, working as a carpenter backstage for this production. So during intermission, we got to go back and visit, and we got to meet like McCavity, and we got to like touch his wig. And I remember leaving the theater that night after we'd seen the second act and been blown away by it. That I remember leaving the theater and thinking, real people do this. Yeah. It's not magic. It's not something that is unachievable by a regular person. And I was like, this is really cool. My dad does it. These people do it. I could do it too. So that was like the first real inkling of it. And I've always been sort of a story writer. Just a story writer, not even a storyteller, even since that age. So I think that kind of funneled in like through the usual channels, like falling into the drama nerds in high school, having a great teacher who let us write plays for like any reason whatsoever, going into university, keeping the enthusiasm going with like self-producing your own stuff in the university context, and then hopping into theater school once I realized this was serious.
Yeah. Were you writing stuff before falling in with the high school drama nerds, or were you writing for theater? Were you writing stories at that time, or was it when you fell in with the theater gang that you started writing stuff?
It was more once I fell in with theater because of this fantastic teacher that we had, Mr. Lynch, who was like, this is how you write a play. And having that sort of experience with the training wheels on and doing the Sears Drama Festival, which was amazing because he let us do everything. Whereas other schools, they would have Moliere wrote this and we'll do the translation. Right. But from top down, it was our thing. So having that raw experience in sort of in an arena where we had that guidance too. I became familiar with the idiom,
right? And
I think I was maybe 14 when I wrote my first play on my own. I spent my summer vacation writing a play about a family where the grandfather, the patriarch, was dying,
right?
Which is kind of reflective of my life experience up until that point.
Yeah. And when did you decide that, you mentioned that you were in university and then you went to theater school when when you figured out that it was serious, which you were saying almost like it was some kind of disease.
Yeah.
I found out that playwriting was serious, and so I had to go and do something about it. How did you figure out that it was that it was serious?
I think it happened in university because I saw other people that I had worked with kind of going off into other streams. This is a point where you become an adult and you choose to stop fooling around with whatever you have been fooling around with and become an accountant or take up a trade. And I realized that I had not had enough. The little tastes that I had up until that point were had increased the itch rather than calming it. So I wanted to find some place where also I had enough academic background. I wanted to go someplace where I could be taught to the same degree the practical aspect of it.
What was your major when you were in university?
English.
Just you're going for doing the bachelor's degree, or
I did a major in English and a minor in history and women's studies. So very, very employable after that point. So I thought, why not go into theater?
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, what else are you going to do with the what is it? It's the Avenue Q. What can you do with the BA in English?
Yeah, exactly.
It
really spoke to me, that musical.
Well, I spoke to a lot of people. I know. So, I mean, the National Theatre School doesn't take that many people, so that's pretty cool that you got there. In terms of the playwriting program, how many playwrights does the theatre school take in a year?
They are they took 2 people per year. And sometimes during the course of your schooling there, one would potentially leave, and they would not replace that person. So our class, we would do multi-year classes, was never more than 6. And I'm not too sure what the application rate was, but it was very much a tight-knit kind of group, which is really awesome because you got to know everyone and you got to know their work. And that was a very intense experience.
Because the NTS, in terms of the theater, the acting program, is sort of a conservatory thing. And I have more of a concept of what that is, having gone to George Brown as a college, which has more of a conservatory. But I have no idea what a playwright program would look like for 3 years.
Right.
Were you doing stuff with the actors? Were you doing movement classes and things like that? Or was it right all the time?
There were definitely movement classes. We sort of created a kind of a hive mind, I think, with our acting year, especially in first year when it was we're gonna turn you into something, be together on this. So we would do movement classes and jeu and mask and other things that the program director, I think, had determined would be great for us as writers. Other things like voice and stuff were not super important. but anything that would sort of inform what we were going to be doing, which was great because up until that point I had been just like typey, thinking about 18th century English comedy. And now it was like, oh, I can put on a mask and see what character comes out of this and then write a monologue.
That's really cool.
Yeah, which was really so foreign to me.
What did you find it like being like a playwright among actors for such a length of time? A lot of times playwrights, in fact a lot of times in a lot of theater situations, the playwrights over here, they show up at the beginning of the rehearsal process, they go away and then they show up again on opening night. Mm-hmm. They don't have a lot of interaction with the actors. Did you find, was it what you expected? Did you find it difficult to, well, you may know you had your time with the theater nerds in high school, so you had some kind of theater experience there, so I'm not sure what I'm asking. So
okay. I did sort of have, coming into it, sort of have a bit of a basis in performance because I think, not to generalize, but I think a lot of people see actors and they're like, oh, this is the way that this is how you get in. Yeah. This is the easiest way. So, like, I took a ton of improv at the Second City, and I could hold my own sort of with them and sort of understood where they were coming from with their, like, emotions. Which made it easier to work with them once it became actors over here, playwright over here. Right. Understanding sort of what they needed from me and being able to mediate that through the director or whatever mentor we happened to be with. So yeah, I kind of knew their vocabulary in a way and understood where they were coming from.
That's good. And so you finished in 2012?
Yes.
And did your cycle of 3 or more part-time jobs for a while, all while working on this play. And now that play is happening this summer, how's the process been of like making it real? Like, are you directing it? Is your friend directing it? Like, how is that process working to take it from the page onto the stage?
Right. Well, at the moment, I'm still very much, I am a playwright. I'm in this deep, dark hole typing things. I will throw pages out and hopefully they will flutter to the appropriate people at the moment. But no, we have a producer, which is fantastic.
That's good.
Because the last time I did the Fringe, I stayed up until 2 a.m. putting together press kits, and God help me if I never have to do that again in my life. I will be so happy.
Absolutely.
And he is amazing. And the director is amazing. Her name is Krista Colosimo. She is transitioning, I believe, from a sort of an acting background into directing. And she read one of the parts at a private reading that we sort of arranged last year, and then was like, I would like to try to direct this, just a matter of finding a venue. And then the Fringe gods were like, pfft.
Nice.
So really jazzed about that.
Nice.
And the friend that I had that pact with, the Fringe Lottery Pact, has been helping me dramaturgically, which is she's been super, super helpful about that because she's got a great seeing the forest. She can see the forest while I can just see the trees. Yeah. Is that how that saying goes?
Because that can be so hard. Because sometimes that's why a good dramaturg is so important.
Yeah.
Because as the playwright, you see certain things from a certain point of view, and you need that outside eye to sometimes say, actually, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
It looks like this is what's happening.
And that's a hard thing for me to have gotten used to, and it has taken a really long time because I came from, I have done an English degree, where I would do that to whatever novel or whatever thing we were reading. So it's super hard for me to turn off that kind of editorial, like, this has to happen here, and like themes. I hate themes so much because they're like always there in my mind, and I just need to get rid of them and be like, what are the characters wanting to do?
Yeah. I always have this strange relationship with the idea of themes because every writing book says know your theme, and I'm like, well, how do I know the theme? I haven't written the thing yet.
No, like it's there, but
but I don't think I don't know. I don't think I have to know it. I always think that's something for the director to figure out.
Really?
You know?
Okay.
Like if somebody wants to know what I know what I think it's about, but the director's going to make up their mind anyway about what the theme is, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I just want to write shit. You know?
And that is the great thing, though. And I think that is why I've stuck with theater as opposed to like writing poetry or like fiction or whatever, because those are very, those are places where you need to know everything.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy being like, this is my contribution. And now we will create something that will only be complete when other people get involved to make it, and we put in front of other people to watch.
I love that aspect of theater and writing for theater. Like, I don't even have to write stage directions if I don't want to. Like, because somebody's going to ignore those or do what they want anyway.
You don't care what this person is wearing, what their mood is. That's an actor thing. Just give them the words. You go
What's
away.
the scene like? I'm not Tennessee Williams. Like I said, there's a chair. And somebody else will decide what that chair looks like.
Go nuts.
Yeah. I love that. And then it's like this complete collaboration that can only exist once all of the pieces are in place.
The flip side is it's kind of terrifying.
Oh, shit, yeah.
But that state of good terror is one I aspire to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the best case scenario, the good terror. Where everything is going to fall into place and it's going to be terrifying because this has never happened before.
Yeah.
And it's, there it is, and everything works out. The bad terror is when there's like things that don't quite work or whatever. But as the playwright, you kind of have to just learn to let go, which is the hardest thing.
So difficult.
Yeah,
working on that every day.
Well, I think anybody who writes for theater is working on that every day because I don't think it ever gets easy to write a thing and then see something go bad with it. When you don't have your part is done once it's written most times.
Yeah.
Because when you see something that's being performed, something of yours that's performed for the first time, like, what's your mood going into that? Like, fear, excitement, combination. You want to throw up.
Well, I have not had a production that has really been putting me in a negative emotional space. I don't know if that's because I'm unlucky or if that's just I have no idea, but I think excitement is probably a good word for it. And good terror in a perfect world. There will always be, I think, things that are like, it's not quite what I saw in my head. But that is part of it. Like I think I might have to hide under something sometimes.
My girlfriend and I refer to that feeling that you were just describing. We call that scared-sighted.
Oh, okay, great.
When you are afraid but also excited.
Yeah.
And I have that almost every time something I've written or created is performed the first time.
Wow.
A bunch of times, like just being like I remember a few times with. A company I worked with, we'd create a show and then we'd perform it for the first time, and I would just be like, before I would go on, just like terrified, waiting for like that first laugh, like something that's going to like show me that it works, because we think it works in the room or whatever, and like that feeling of like, I've done all this stuff, now only I and the people in the room have experienced this thing so far, now what's going to happen?
Yeah. I think I've only really had one experience where my emotions have kind of gotten away from me, or I feel like I had the emotions of an audience member watching for the first time, of watching something that I had created, and that was an amazing experience. So yeah, the emotional engagement, if I can get it as close as possible to what an audience member is feeling, like that uniting, is extraordinary and something that I kind of aim for.
Yeah, it's really exciting when that happens, like when everything is firing on all cylinders, including the audience, when the audience is like right there. There's nothing like it.
Like I knew this character was going to die because I had written it, but in the scene where she was going to die, like I felt my heart going, and I was like, this is theater, man! Yeah, it is. So have they given you a venue yet? Yes. I don't think it's confidential or anything.
This won't be going out until right before Fringe. Anyway.
Okay, fantastic. Great. We're going to be in the Tarragon Extra Space.
Oh, that's a great space.
I am so excited. I used to work there as a co-op student when I was like 16. And so I have like this long-term, like precious place in my heart. And the Extra Space is great. It's flexible. It's small enough that you can. It feels full. If like, but it's close enough that you can get into. You can really get into people's space.
Yeah, I love a close space like that.
Plus, they have a patio.
What?
Which, I think they should. They haven't had a patio for the past couple of years.
Oh, shit, yeah. The patio up front. I thought you meant like some kind of backstage patio.
Oh, no. I'm talking about like people who are like, let's have a beer while we think about seeing this show. Yeah. Oh, how about this one? That is mine.
I always find like that one is so like there's the factory patio, which is like so spacious and like there's all this space and it's like an enclosed area, and then it always feels like the Tarragon patio is like just like on the street.
Yeah.
Which it is, but it's a great spot to like find people. And like grab something before
and it's not a place to settle too much. Like whenever I go to the factory patio, it's like let's spend a couple hours here talking about what we just saw.
Yeah.
And the Tarragon one is just like hop.
Yeah.
And then off again. Yeah. So high turnover, I think.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting because Tarragon was a great location to easily walk to the Mervish space.
Right.
Which is gonna be interesting this year now that everything is changing with the new Fringe tent space.
Yeah, they're going more like downtown centralized. It's on Richmond now, right?
Scatting Court, I think, which is I think it's Bathurst and Dundas.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, which is central to a bunch of other theaters. Mm-hmm. But it's different. You know, we fear change. So have you cast a show yet?
Yes, I think so. I got an email saying we mostly have a cast.
Okay, that's good.
Yes.
That's good.
I'm pretty excited about it. I'm really the thing that I'm most excited about this is that the important relationship in this play is between the two women. Mm-hmm. It's very complicated. Mm-hmm. It is emotionally up and down. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's not an awful lot of visibility for relationships like that, especially like women-driven ones.
Yeah.
Like this is a very female energy kind of production that I'm putting together that I'm really excited about because I'm kind of tired of a certain amount of broiness.
Yeah, no,
I can see.
Absolutely.
And that's the case in like society in general, but in a lot of art forms too, where I feel like a little bit of a marginalization is going on. So I'm excited to see what the two women involved are really bringing to this. And also the third character is a male character. And the actor that we have for that, I know acquaintance-wise right now. And that kind of triangle is going to be so interesting, cool. I think.
It's funny, the whole, like, we don't see these kinds of relationships. We don't see enough women, for one thing, on our stages. We don't see enough plays written by women on our stages. So it's important that those do happen. It's great that it's happening at Fringe. We need to see it in other places, too.
Yeah.
Is this the kind of thing that, like, when you're having discussions at NTS and you're talking about playwriting, do they talk about diversity? And do they talk about the voices that we're seeing on stage and how to make change? Or is that even something that comes up at all?
I don't think it came up in sort of like we're going to sit down and talk about this, but the guest artists that they always brought in and the work that we were doing was very conducive to diverse voices, I think. So I feel like after the stripping down and the building back up again happened, there was sort of a creation of an ideal world within the school. So you could leave and be like, this is something I want to recreate in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't have any sort of direct, like, this is the issue and stuff. So after theater school, I joined the Playwrights Guild and kind of got involved in their whole equity in theater kind of thing going on and learning hard stats about how few women are produced and what positions they are hired for in professional productions. Just staggered me.
Yeah, it should. And it's not acceptable.
No.
You know?
It's something like less than 25%. I can't remember. It was a couple of years ago that the stat was less than 25% of professionally produced plays in Canada were by women. And the only positions that they have any parity or surpass men is in like the mom positions in my mind, like the stage managers and wardrobe, which are kind of like cleaning up after other people and doing sewing.
Yes. Yeah.
And that is, while it's great that those wonderful, wonderful people are employed. It's just like, who are the artistic directors?
Yeah.
Who are the directors? Why?
Well, you know, I mean, we can call out. I mean, you look at some the factory. Factory right now is led by led by a woman of color.
Yes,
that is such a rarity in Canada, and I often think, like, how do we make other theaters do that? How do we make the other theaters in Canada, like, present Canada on their stages in a way that's not just like a bunch of white dudes with the occasional woman?
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know how we do it, and I don't know how, as a theater community, we do that.
I think the factory has got it right in that it's sort of like a trickle down thing. Like if you can get yourself in a position of, I am making decisions about things, because the way it was sort of very evocatively broken down at this equity in theater conference I went to was like, the people making decisions at the moment are 60-ish white men, like artistic directors and things. And so this kind of amorphous, I'm going to program my season with something that resonates with me,
right? Like
emotionally. Like you can't really define what that is.
No.
So you can't put sort of equal opportunity on it. And what is going to resonate with them are stories that they recognize that are in them, which is a completely different beast.
It just, like, the onus is on the boards who do the appointments to make changes. Otherwise, I think, you know, I mean, there's a backlash against Can Stage for its lack of diversity. And I think that that's the kind of thing that, you know, all of our theaters need to be held accountable for. But the boards ultimately make the decision about who's filling that position. And if the boards are made up with all white men, they're going to appoint all white men unless they want to actually see something that represents Canada.
Yeah, the hierarchy just keeps going up and up and up, and I'm just like, I'm just a playwright. Can you just read my play? It's really good.
That is the trick when you're a playwright. Is how do you get people to read your play? You know.
I want to change the world.
Well, yeah. I mean, but that's. I mean, if you end up self-producing, that's another way to change the world.
Yeah.
Right? Is to be like, if you look at somebody who's like changed sort of the face of the way that indie theater works, Kat Sandler from Theatre Brouhaha, she and her team have like really made some serious change to the way that, you know, that theater can be successful without necessarily grants or without like you have a strong woman writing great plays, directing sometimes, and, you know, writing some great stuff, and that's, you know, with indie we can do that. It seems in a better way than some of the established theaters can.
But I don't know, like your example of Kat Sandler, like she is a machine.
Yeah, she is.
I don't know how do you do that?
She is a machine.
Yeah,
and she's
insanely prolific, and
she's talked about it, and like I think that when she latches on something now, she latches on something and sort of like has more of an, like, she talks things out with her team, with like Tom McGee and Danny Padgett, and then she has a better idea, and like she writes pretty quickly. She is a machine.
Yeah,
she's like,
but that's like a personality thing, or like where is the room for someone who spends 8 years or 4 years on a single thing and is like, here you go. I
actually think that one gets to the point when you're writing as a machine. You start with the one, and then as you write more. You finish this thing, you write the next thing.
So you say it's like a practice thing.
I think it's a practice
as
thing.
opposed
I
to...
think it's practice. It's not just... I mean, you can be brilliant, like she is, and write play after play after play, but I think that there's also practice. Like, just, you write this thing, and then maybe the next thing becomes easier, and that, so on and so on. I think deadlines help hugely.
Right.
Like, if you just say, I'm going to write a thing, you can meander around that for a while. But I think that Theatre Brouhaha makes a choice. It's just, we're producing this then, and then you got to write it. You got to make it happen.
I totally see where you're coming from, but my soul is like,
oh, I know. Oh shit!
Just
a
little bit more space. Just like, just a little more time.
Oh, yeah.
A little, just to let it resonate. You know?
Yeah. I mean, you can set yourself a real terrifying deadline. I did. this year. But
what did you do?
I decided I didn't get into Fringe, so I was going to do the show that I did at Hamilton, but since I didn't get into Fringe, I thought I'm just going to do something on my own. I booked the Red Sandcastle in November, and I haven't written the thing yet. I'm in the process.
Wow. Okay, why did you do this to yourself? Just because you were like deadline?
A deadline, absolutely.
A horrifying
deadline of hopefully awesomeness. But we will see what it, because it's still like I've given myself till the end of the summer to write the thing.
That's plenty of time.
Oh, sure. Sure, and then I look at the calendar and I want to die. But,
that's going to be interesting, though.
It's like going to be like a sprint.
Yeah. And some value can definitely come out of that.
I'm really glad I didn't do my first idea, which was to do one play in the spring and then one in the fall, which would have been just stupid.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I talked myself out of that one. There's too much there.
No, you need to like sleep and eat.
Yeah, exactly. Mostly sleep and eat. Those
not
are the two
cry.
things. Not cry. Well, crying is probably going to happen anyway, but that's just the writing process sometimes.
Yeah, you just got to build in some time there,
Yeah.
a good hour or so.
Are you for this show? How do you know how involved you're going to be in the rehearsal or anything, or are you just going to like write your thing and stand back?
What I would love to do, like I feel like this pass that I'm coming up to, where I just have to fill in that one scene and then do a couple tweaks, will be great to like present to the guys. But I would love to be in the rehearsal hall as much as possible because I feel like, again, with the whole like collaborative thing and coming from sort of a quasi-performance background, I feel like something will come out of that that will strengthen what I can write. Yeah. And if we can make that like officially part of the script, that would be super cool. I'm really stoked to have these characters out of my head and have them embodied in real people and then see what they see in them, and the characters through them will talk back to me.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. That like you've written like a skeleton of the character and these actors are going to put flesh on it.
Yeah, or like the characters are as fully formed as I think I can get them, but like they may see something, they may latch onto a personality trait in one of them that is completely buried, or I thought was, and then find something awesome in that. So.
Actors will always do that. That's one of the amazing things about like writing a thing and then giving it to somebody to make their own.
So I would love to observe that and see if I can take some of that and then reincorporate it in the actual text.
Would you do that with this iteration, or would you like take a note and then like do that for later?
Probably a little column A, a little column B. Like whatever will improve the thing that we're working on right now for the Fringe. Cool. I'm 100% behind, but then also if something crops up and it's like, oh, this character that used to be another character, maybe I can take what happened here and put that back into him. That would be pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I just want to absorb as much as possible from this experience.
Cool.
It's been a while since I've had a production, so I'm quite thrilled.
Well, that is exciting. That is really exciting.
Yeah.
And the Toronto Fringe is a great place to do it. Great place to put work out there.
No,
Thank you so much for talking with me today. It's been great.
Great.